Hey, you don't trim that line just because she stopped fighting.
Sir, I'm clearing her side, not crossing yours.
Then stop acting like this strip is your business. She let this fence strip go for years. Stay out of it.
I stopped because I was too weak, not because I gave up.
And weakness doesn't mean she should lose her space.
I noticed the fence line before I even reached the back strip, because nearly 18 inches of usable side yard had been swallowed across roughly 22 feet of rear boundary, where thick grass, uneven growth, and years of neglect had slowly narrowed what should have been a safe walking path into a thin, worn track barely visible through the weeds. As I stepped farther in, the long fence stretched beside a dry, neglected strip, patchy dirt paths cut through tall grass, and the narrow corridor between the fence and yard edge looked more abandoned than maintained. When I knocked on the nearby home, 82-year-old retired postal clerk Mrs. Dorothy Hayes slowly came outside, gripping the side railing before taking careful, uneven steps toward the yard. Her knees had weakened after arthritis spread into both legs, her balance had worsened, and bending low enough to keep clearing the long fence line had become painful enough that she eventually stopped. At first, she tried trimming sections herself, but every few days the grass rose again, roots thickened near the posts, and the narrow strip became harder to manage. What made it worse was the neighbor along that boundary, who had spent years complaining that the neglected fence side looked messy and dragged down the appearance of the rear lots, yet never once offered help. Instead, whenever she tried hiring someone or clearing too close to the boundary, he would come out with a harsh tone, acting as if the overgrowth and narrowing strip were proof she had failed to maintain what he constantly criticized. Over time, she stopped answering. She no longer had the strength to argue, no longer wanted the stress, and quietly let more of the side yard disappear under weeds and pressure. But standing there, looking at how badly that long rear strip had been swallowed, it was obvious this had become more than simple grass. It was usable space slowly lost because someone too weak to keep fighting had been left alone. So I began cutting thick grass along the fence posts, reopening the narrow walking strip, and restoring ground she had almost stopped using. As soon as I started making progress, the same neighbor appeared near the boundary with that familiar arrogant attitude, loudly complaining that I was cutting too close and disturbing the line he always treated like his personal concern. He criticized more than he ever helped. I stayed calm and kept working only on her side, clearing enough overgrowth to reopen the full strip and bring back safe walking access. By the time the sunlight reached exposed dirt and shorter grass again, the fence line no longer looked forgotten. Mrs. Hayes stood quietly with trembling hands, trying to offer me a few folded bills from what she called her emergency grocery money, but I refused. She did not need to pay for someone to remind her that weakness should never mean losing dignity, safety, or space around her own home. So tell me, if an elderly woman had quietly lost part of her yard because pain and pressure became too much, would you step in to help or walk away, like share and comment?